Hey, Dad. My 5th birthday party is coming up, and this year I think I'm getting an ice cream cake. Do you like ice cream cake? Well, I'll save you a slice. Love you, Brandon. Hey, Dad. My 10th birthday party is next week, and when I woke up this morning, the first thing Mom said was, "Dang, you look just like your daddy." Maybe that's why my reflection is so unfamiliar sometimes. Anyways, I really hope you can make it to the party this year. I miss you a lot. All right, well, I'll see you at the party, hopefully. Sincerely, Brandon. Hey, Tyrone. I just turned 16 years old today, and about a week ago, I thought about inviting you to my birthday party this year because all the kids at school always ask, "Are you gonna make it?" And I always end up telling them that you're out of town. Now, Mama told me stop lying so much, but technically you are out of town, so I guess I wasn't really lying, because what's a little half-truth when you've only ever known half your roots? But I'm tired of sticking up for you. I'm tired of all these sleepless nights. I'm tired of coming up with excuses for your absence. I'm tired of trying to reform my self-image into something that you would consider to be beautiful. I'm tired of trying to earn the title of being called your son as if it wasn't my birthright. So you know what, Dad, or Tyrone, whoever the hell you are, I'm done. Because all I ever wanted was for you to acknowledge my existence. But despite my persistence, I haven't even met resistance, just absence. And I hate the fact that I still want you here. But I'm done being caught in this delusion, the idea that you, a mirage, could alleviate my confusion. I don't need you. I never did. This is my last letter to you, Tyrone. Goodbye. Dear Tyrone, for 25 years I cried into pillow sheets wondering why you left me. Wondering what I could have done to have earned your love or how I pushed you so far away. Your absence, like a flame, found home in the kindling of my insecurities, and my mind became a wildfire. And as I ascended in age, my sorrow turned to rage because I wanted to move on, but I simply couldn't turn the page. Or I didn't want to. Because somehow being angry with you still made me feel close to you. And despite our lack of history, Tyrone, I've come to learn that pain, like secrets, can only control you if you hold them within. So I've laid down these woes at the altar of Christ just so I can tell you this. I forgive you. I forgive you. I forgive you so I can finally be free. No longer shackled to my misery, because this situation is so much bigger than you and me. This right here is generational healing, because I'm getting married soon. And I want our first chapter together to be started off on the right page with you by my side as I marry my bride, because Tyrone, for the first time ever, I can honestly say, I love you. And I actually mean it, so will you be there for my biggest day ever? Sincerely, your son, Brandon. Hello? Hey, Tyrone. I got something I'd like to read to you. Yes, Jesus loves me.
All right, so that, despite what the second performance he did, uh, you know, I was hoping that he wasn't gonna go on with this Black Lives Matter, George Floyd, whatever. Okay, but he has the right to free speech. Okay, but I was hoping he wasn't gonna do that narrative. But this last performance he did, I can relate because my father's an alcoholic, but I had time with my father. Not as much time, but my parents divorced, but what? And I forgave my father. Okay. Uh, and I miss them. I miss them during my childhood and stuff for a little while. Um, but when he was saying this poem about his father, I thought about my son. How, you know, my mom always had to make the effort to come to bring Sean to his dad. Um, that it was never, he didn't have. I don't think he had a license. I don't know, but it was like my mom always had to make the effort, you know, or Sean would say, "Well, Dad, because he lived in Easton, Pennsylvania, or I'm sorry, in Scranton, Pennsylvania. It's right by Easton, and my his father would call him and whatever, and so there was a few times saying, well, uh, Dad, I'm going to a wrestling show in Easton. Can you just drive in Easton? Well, I don't have a license. He always made excuses and everything else, right? And so, uh, in 2009, my son graduated from high school, and my mom said to me, "Don't tell Sean this, but I'm inviting, Grandpa. I can't say last name. His grandfather and his father to his graduation." I said, "Why?" And the only reason why is because, all right, is because she wanted to show them, see, he graduated from high school because of me. It was all about her, really. You know what I mean? And so I felt real uneasy about it. It's not like it's. I felt uneasy about it because, of the two kids. I was over Bear. I was over him. But it was funny because he said, "Well, I don't want to visit Sean and whatever," because he made excuses saying because my pastor said it would be considered cheating if he went down to see Sean. And I'm like, why? Because of you. What? And I believe he still wanted me. And that's whatever. And so one day he got a phone call from his father. Okay? And so his father told Sean that he had cancer. And he felt indifferent about it. Okay? So he comes down to my house and he says, he said, "Mom," he says, "Dad has cancer." And I don't know if it's a joke or what. I'm like, "What do you mean a joke? People don't joke they have cancer." And I'll be honest with you, I really felt upset, okay? I felt bad. Okay? I was sympathetic and empathetic for a few moments, okay? And Sean said to me, "I feel indifferent about this because he never made efforts to see me. He's like he wasn't a part of my life, really, and all that. And I can understand how he felt. I really do. But it's still his father. But when Sean says, well, he says, "Yeah, well, I've had a hard life, blah, 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 blah. He's the victim. He's had a hard life. Oh, and all that. Bullshit. These kids didn't deserve what happened to them. Do I always say, oh, I've had a hard life, and all that stuff? No. I take responsibility for what happened to my kids. I owned up to that. I owned up to that. And I'll never forgive myself about that either. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Oh boy. It was the hardest thing I had to do with my daughter. It still hurts. It still affects me to this day. You know? And with my son, with Sean, I I miss them so much. At times, I want them to be happy and just you know. I was always honest with them about my addiction, and they don't know all of it, of course, and stuff. But I told them, I said, I don't want you guys to end up like me. But Christy was like, "Oh, you always showed up on holidays. I wonder why." And I'm like, "What do you mean? I love you guys. I love you. You know, you know." Oh my God. Ugh. I was there for them more than their father. I wasn't there all the time and stuff because, of course, it's like, yeah, I'll be there, and of course, my feet took a left turn to the dope man or whatever, you know. And so so I said to Sean, I said, give me his number. And what? And he was with somebody, okay? And seven, oh yeah, that was a. But I'm not gonna talk about her. But he had a couple winners, if you know what I mean. Uh, rolling my eyes. Um, I said, give me his number. And oh no, when, but I don't know if it was before his graduation. No, I think it was after his graduation. I said to Bear, I said, don't, make more of an effort to see your kids. They didn't deserve this. They love you still. They want to have a relationship with you and all that. You know, don't break promises that you can't keep and all that. And then but he was off the wall anyway because he says, "Oh, I had dreams and oh, Jesus said it was okay for me and Linda to smoke pot and blah blah blah." Real whoo hoo. and all that stuff. And then he says, I thought, you were going to die before me because of the drugs you were on. He says, if you need a friend, I'll help you. And I laughed at that. And I said, you know what, Bear? I think you need more help than I do. I would help you out more than you would help me. Because I was clean and sober completely at that time. And, so, so, uh, so, so, so after, Sean told me about, his father's diagnosis and whatever, uh, you know, he gave me his number, and I called him again. And I said, and I think Linda answered the phone. Anyway, so I said, I'm sorry to hear that you had, you're sick, and that, and so my mom, and there was a craziness and stuff because, you know, they called my daughter and stuff, right? And I think, my father-in-law was there to see Bear, in Pennsylvania. And so there was some weirdness, and, and she said, it's weird because I call him back and there's no answer. Well, so she called again. She had him on speakerphone, and all you could hear is they picked up the phone. You can't, like you could hear, like, no, you talk, whatever. It was just weird. Like they were playing games. It was just weird. And so that was the end of that. And my mother says, well, I'll take you up to see your father and stuff. I said, you know what? Take me along with you because I want to tell him a few things. I don't care if he's dying or not. So, I moved here. I got married, and all that stuff. I moved here, and for some reason, I looked up his name on the computer, and on one of the sites it says deceased. And I was like, what? No. I was like, and so I don't want to tell Sean because I don't know if it was a mistake. Maybe it's, So I went over to my mother-in-law's house, and I said to her, I said, can I use your phone? Because I don't want to call my father-in-law, my ex-father-in-law. Because I think, the kid's father's passed away. I want to know if it's true or not. So she said, oh, no, yeah, go ahead, use your phone, And so I called my father-in-law, and it just kept ringing and ringing and ringing and ringing and ringing. No answer machine, nothing. Just kept ringing and ringing. And he probably, saw the, like caller ID, like Zickerfoos. What? Sorry, I saw her last name or something like that, right? And so, who's that? I would have left a message and stuff. I kept calling. So when I talked to Sean, I didn't want to tell him that. I think your father passed away, and all that. Because so I kept for like I guess another day. I tried keep calling my father-in-law. No answer. Even when my husband passed away, actually when my husband passed away, I called my ex-father-in-law and stuff, right? Because he was like a father to me, okay, and everything. And I said, well, Ed passed away. Oh, I'm so sorry, and and all that stuff, and because you know when Sean graduated, you know, he met my Ed, my husband and stuff, and he thought he was funny, and it was just weird that day with the graduation, it was weird because it just, I felt really uncomfortable because, of course, because of the situation with the kids and whatever. And so my husband said to me, "Don't drink. Don't drink on Sean's special day." I said, "No, I'm not. I'm not. I'm not. I'm not. I promise I'm not." You know, and so I saw them, ride by, you know. So I was really, my anxiety level was up. I didn't go in a panic attack. So I walked in the house and all that, and Bear looked so much different. Like he lost he just lost a lot of weight, and there's something off about him. I was trying, and and I sat down on my mother's couch, and I was like holding back tears. And my father-in-law, okay, stood there, stood in the living room, and he looked at me. He says, "Back then, everybody made mistakes. Everybody made mistakes back then." And of course, my mom rolled her eyes and stuff, and went into the kitchen. Oh, she never made mistakes, but anyway, okay. And I said, "Well, thank you," because I think he knew I was really uncomfortable and my anxiety level was up and whatever. But for him to admit that was a big deal to me because my mom couldn't let go of the past when it came to certain things with my father, my in-laws, and during that one particular time. Um, so so one day my my son called me from Portland, and he said he says he says Dad died. I said, "Oh," and I acted surprised. "Oh, really? Really? Oh, Sean, I'm sorry." And I didn't tell him. Well, I knew that. I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, Sean." And I did, okay? Because with my situation with my father, the alcohol was the wall, okay? The alcohol was the wall. And that goes for with Sean and, Christy with, the wall with their father, okay? And that happens in addiction, okay? Another brick in the wall, right? So I said, "Well, how did he find out?" Well, Aunt Sherry wrote me a Facebook message and all that. And he said, "There's a obituary on the internet." And he said, "Grandpa Duggar died too." And I was like, "What?" And I was like blown away. I was like, "Grandpa Duggar died?" He says, "Yeah." And I was like, and So right away, I went on the internet and looked at the obituary, and they call it a eulogy because he was a part, like, it was the cremation, like the cremation society of Michigan, or I don't know, something like that. I don't know, right? And it says, oh, the eulogy, and here I don't know who wrote it and stuff, but it was a very, I was like, kind of weird, you know, obituary, but they called it a eulogy. Maybe my father-in-law's girlfriend wrote it, or I don't know. I really don't know. Or maybe one of his relatives is like Paulette. I don't know if she's still with him, but anyway, it was just weird. And so when I read, I was still in shock. And he died December 19th, 2019. They didn't put the exact date of my ex's uh, date of death. I would like to know, actually. But it wasn't 2019, but I think it was like 6 months before my father-in-law died or something. And my father-in-law was so protective, of course, of course, because he's family, was so protective of my 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 ex. You know, whatever. Um, but yeah, I felt bad for Sean. You know, there's a lot more to the story too, but so when I heard this, when I saw this, when he was speaking about his father and all that stuff, it brought me right back to my son and my daughter.